Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm excited to see you here today. Today we're talking about a leader that does not get a lot of love nowadays, and that is OP08 Purple Yellow Charlotte Pudding. A leader that first came on the scene and was very interesting, but kind of died off pretty quickly. It looks like the Purple Big Mom Pirates archetype will be getting a lot of new support in OP11, but until then, let's take a look at a list that I've been having a lot of fun with in OP10. In today's video, we're going to do a deck breakdown, then we're going to go into a custom leader giveaway. I think the leader looks really cool, so you're going to want to stick around for that. And then of course we have games on the sim, taking it to the sim, seeing how it does, and then talking about it afterwards. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and consider hitting that subscribe button down below. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers, and with your help, we'll be there in no time. Seriously though, please help. My wife said she's going to throw out my One Piece cards if I don't get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so help your boy out. Starting off with the leader, Charlotte Pudding, she has 5,000 power, 4 life. She has the ability of when attacking, you may flip the top 2 cards of your life face up, and then ramp a Don as rested from your Don deck. In my opinion, this deck is not a very big-brained deck. It is simply ramping as fast as you can, and then spamming out your 10 cost Big Mom, one of the best cards in the game, one of the best boss monsters they've ever printed. And yeah, let's take a look at how we get there though. There's a lot of other cards in this deck that make this deck work pretty well. Starting off, we have the 6 cost 7,000 power 1k counter Charlotte Katakuri from OP08. This card is amazing in this deck. He's got the on play of flipping the top card of your life face up, and then if you do that, you get to ramp it down as active. This is the perfect card to cheat out on turn 3 if you're on the odd curve. If you used your leader ability on turn 2, you will be at 6 Don at this point, and then you can use Charlotte Katakuri's ability, and then depending on what happened since you used leader ability last and your opponent's turn and now, you might actually be able to use this ability with your leader ability ramping twice in one turn. So you're going to start the turn at 6 Don and you're going to end it between leader ability and this card at 8 Don, setting you up perfectly for the turn 4 Big Mom, which we absolutely love. Next we have the 9 cost Big Mom from OP08. This is another great card in the current meta. 9 costs 9,000 power, on play Don -1, you get to trash a card from your hand, add the top card of your deck to your life, then place one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less onto their life cards, either at the top or bottom. While she's not of course as good as the 10 cost Big Mom, she's still really strong. One thing you'll see in this deck that I'll talk about afterwards is there's just so many options for late game top end, and so there are a ton of different ways to build this deck, and yeah, whatever you feel most comfortable with when it comes to top end, I think is valid. I like this card a lot. I think getting rid of some pressure and then also healing a life is really important, especially in a meta where it could be fast paced when you're playing against aggro decks, is really strong. But let me know what you think about this card in this deck in the comments below if you feel differently. Next, we're running 2 of the 7 cost 7,000 power Sanjis from OP09. This card is really strong. It's got the on play that you get to return 1 Don or more to your Don deck. Then you give this character Rush and rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less. This is mainly used as a late game finisher when you can get around one of your opponent's blockers and just go for game. Nothing too crazy here, as he's just a 2-of that we really only need in that unique circumstance. We're running 4 of the Viola from EBO1, a 2 cost 0 power blocker that is very easily removed from the board. One great thing about her though is she synergizes very well with our leader ability. On turn 2, when you swing with your leader and then flip the top 2 cards of your life face up, then you can use Viola to flip them back down, so then you can guarantee yourself to be able to use leader ability again next turn. So that's why I think she's really important and really strong in this deck. Next we have Charlotte Flampe, a 1 cost 1,000 power character that we're mainly using for the 2k counter and the on play. She's a Big Mom Pirates card, so she is a searchable 2k, which is nice, but then she also has the on play of you may take the top card of your life and add it to your hand, then you draw a card as well. Depending on the circumstance, you may need to take the top card of your life just to use leader ability again if you want to, and so in that situation this card's going to be really good. While it is super helpful, I know at one point Flampes were kind of expensive, and so if you don't run these in your deck, I don't think it's the absolute craziest if you want to stick more towards a budget build. Next we've got 4 1 cost 2,000 power Charlotte Pudding Searchers. This is just a simple searcher looking for Big Mom Pirates cards. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, we're looking for that 10 cost Big Mom, but there will be situations in which maybe you don't take the 10 cost Big Mom, but for the most part, we're looking for that 10 cost Big Mom as early as possible. Feels like I've said 10 cost Big Mom like at least a dozen times in this video already. 10 cost 12,000 power with the on play of taking the top card of your deck, adding it to your life, and then trashing the top card of your opponent's life. There's nothing much to say about this card, just how it's an absolute beast. Unfortunately, if you are playing against an aggro deck that has just pressured you so much, this might not be enough, and it might just like, if you're playing this down on 10 Don, but your opponent has a full board and they're going to be able to pressure you with not a lot of cards in hand, it might not be enough. In a lot of matchups though, getting down a 10 cost 12,000 power character that just healed you and trashed one of your opponent's life cards is going to be a game changer. Next we have one 8 cost category that honestly could be bumped up to 2. 8 cost 8,000 power, which is solid, but what we really like is the on play. You get to choose one character on the board with a cost of 8 or less and then add it to your opponent's life cards top or bottom. This could be your opponent's, this could be your own if you feel like you need to heal a life or want to put a good trigger back to life potentially. What we really like about him in the current meta is that he's able to hit the 8 cost Eustace Captain Kidd or even the 5 cost Smoker that I've done a couple times in the red-green Smoker matchup. It's a great way to deal with smaller bodies or medium-sized bodies like 8 cost Kidd, especially in green, unless of course they have the TCG on the field, but if they do, then yeah, that's a little bit awkward. But if they don't, this is a great way to take advantage of category and then getting either their Eustace Captain Kidd, a Cavendish, a Carrot, a Smoker. Any of those are very good targets to throw back to your opponent's life. I'm definitely thinking maybe we bump this up to 2. Next we've got 4 of the 3 cost 3000 power Capone Beige. This is mostly used as a 2k, and then of course his trigger, which can save you in games if you don't know it by now, and that is up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters cannot attack for the rest of the turn. This is just amazing to have at the bottom of your life. You can't always guarantee it's there, especially with this deck, but Destiny may put it at the bottom of your life and help you win a game with it. Next, we've got 4 of the 5 cost 5000 power Satoris. This I don't love in the deck. It's mainly used as a 2k counter and just like a body when you absolutely need it. Satori does have the trigger that does allow you to cheat him out sometimes. You do have to trash a card from your hand, which sometimes feels bad, but at the end of the day, you can cheat him out, which is decent. I don't know, let me know what you would swap out for him in the comments down below if you're not a fan. Next, we're running 3 of the 10 cost 10,000 power Portgas Diaz from OPO7. This you could probably bump up to 4 just because he is a great top end piece that we love to ramp into. We usually prefer 10 cost Big Mom, but there are circumstances where we certainly will be happy with this ace as well. He's got the on play of healing you a life, and then if you have 2 life cards or less, he does gain rush, which is really strong. 10 cost ace, if we do ramp into him and we're not low on life, we won't be able to take full advantage of his ability, but still an awesome card, still an amazing card. Like, I definitely think he's worth running in this deck. Next, some spice from OPO9. This is a 6 cost 6000 power Nico Robin with 1k counter. Nico Robin, of course, not searchable, not really that synergizing with our deck, but she does have a great on play, especially for 6 Don. You get to throw on the field, and if your opponent has 3 life cards or more, which they usually do at this point, you do get to trash the top card of your opponent's life. That's a great effect, and yeah, if you can get this down, cheating it out on your 3rd turn if you're on the odd curve feels really strong. Next, we're running 2 of the 3 cost 1000 power Charlotte Brûlés from Starter Deck 07, 1 cost counter, just a typical chunk blocker that does also have the trigger, which for a yellow deck that does like to take advantage of triggers, that trigger is very nice. There's definitely times where I've gotten the trigger and it's helped me out greatly in games. I think you'll see that in one of the games today. No complaints here for me. If you wanted to run her at more, I wouldn't call you crazy. Next, we've got another card I really like in this deck that I could see us bumping up to 2, and that is the 5 cost event Ragnarok. It has the activate main of Don -1, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 8 or less. Like the 8 cost category, there are a lot of great targets for this card, and 5 Don for this effect, not too bad. Continuing with the events, we have the 1 cost searcher, We're Gonna Claim the One Piece. This is a simple look at the top 5 cards of your deck for an Animal Kingdom Pirates card or a Big Mom Pirates card. There are no Animal Kingdom Pirates cards in this deck besides the Ragnarok event that you can take, I guess. But for the most part, we're looking for the Big Mom Pirates 10 cost Big Mom, unless there, of course, a certain situation in which that's not the best play at the moment. Last but not least, we do have the 0 cost 3000 power counter event, You're the One Who Should Disappear. If you've played yellow decks, if you've played against yellow decks, you've probably heard of this card. This is just a typical 0 cost 3000 power counter, but what is really strong about it is if it's your last card in your life, you do get to activate a trigger and heal a life, which is absolutely insane. Like Beige, it can simply save you games, and who doesn't love that? When Destiny's on your side, you can simply cheat out a game or two. There really are a ton of options when it comes to top end and just other cards you can substitute in this deck list. These are some of my recommendations or cards to consider in your list. The biggest one that I probably think of when I think of top end that would fit nicely in this deck is the 9 cost Yamato. Yamato I have run in a bunch of different lists. The thing is though, sometimes I feel like I'm not getting the healing aspect, which I do really value. It's more so for the KO, and I really do like healing lives, especially in this deck. So I don't run Yamato right now, but this is the one where I'm like, most decks probably do run it. With that being said, let's get into the custom leader giveaway. Today, we're going to be giving away a custom leader using art from the Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I am not selling this. This is just a fun personal project of mine. If you want to win this custom leader, all you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that. Then, if we get 20 likes in the first 24 hours, I will choose a random US-based commenter and send it to you completely free. What a deal, ladies and gentlemen. 1 like, 1 comment, and you're entered to win this custom leader card. If you want to support the channel even more, consider hitting that subscribe button as well. Almost at 2,000, you know the spiel. Editor, roll the gameplay. Our first game of the day is going to be against a red-green smoker, a new leader in OP10 that is pretty popular at the moment. We are going to choose to go first, and one of the reasons for that is we don't like the idea of smoker developing that 5-cost smoker on curve. I'd rather them develop it on 6 Don, where it's a little bit more awkward for them, not maximizing their Don plays. They're going to start off with the baby 5 searcher and draw the OP05 2-cost Don Quixote Rosinante blocker. It is interesting to see that this is a Don Quixote Pirates variant, which is relatively popular. I'm not sure if it's as popular as it was back in the day, but a good variant nonetheless. We're going to clear that baby 5 with a leader swing and then play down Charlotte Brule. Using leader ability, we're going to be at 6 Don next turn, and we can play down that 6-cost Charlotte Katakuri that we love. We could also maybe go with the Nico Robin that trashes the life. Either way, I think those are both good options. For 1 Don, they'll start with the Virgo Searcher from OP10 and draw the Tony Chopper. That is a very strong card. They're not going to play anything else for their turn, just swing 8,000 at us, and of course we're going to take this. We are going to have 1 card up at the top of our life, which activates our Charlotte Katakuri effect. We can flip that life over, ramp a Don is active, swing 6,000 with our leader, then ramp another Don, and next turn we are already going to be at 10 Don. If only we had a 10 drop Big Mom. That is kind of ridiculous to be able to ramp that quickly. 2 ramps in 1 turn while developing a 6k or a 6-cost 7,000 power body is so strong. They're going to take that life, and then we are just going to pass it back to them. With 6 Don up, they are going to play down that 5-cost smoker. They'll be able to restand not 1, not 2, but 3 Don using their character and leader ability, giving them 4 Don still to work with, which is crazy. So good, ladies and gentlemen. They could play down the Tony Chopper, perhaps. They could play down a 3-cost Tashigi if they have it. They will end up playing the 3-cost Sanji from OP10. This gets plus 3,000 power during our opponent's turn. Then they'll play down the You Can Be My Samurai, resting the Virgo and the Sanji to draw 2 cards. That's an interesting new tech that it seems like some smokers are running nowadays. 5,000 at our leader now. This I am contemplating a little bit. I don't want to go too far down in life, but I do decide to take it. We get that 1-drop Charlotte Pudding. This turn, I'm leaning towards playing the Katakuri, putting that smoker to the bottom of their life, and then playing down a Charlotte Pudding Searcher as well, trying to find a Big Mom. We do not find a Big Mom, and we have to choose between the Charlotte Brule and the event. I decided to go with the Brule. Can't hurt to have another blocker. Now we're going to swing 5,000 into that Sanji, which they will let go. With Sanji's ability, they are able to draw a card, which doesn't feel amazing, but I feel like it's worth it just to clear it off the board. Now 8,000 into their life with our Katakuri 6-drop. They will take that, and then we can go 8-drop Katakuri, putting that smoker to the bottom of their life. While I would love to save that Katakuri for a potential Eustace Captain Kidd 8-drop, if they play down the 8-drop with a Tashigi, we won't be able to do that play. So I really wanted to get the most out of that Katakuri when I could. They will play down the 8-cost Kidd here and then give it a Don. They're going to be able to set some Don as active using their leader ability too. Then they're going to play down the 3-cost Tashigi. I saw into the future, folks, and I am so happy I played that Katakuri out now, because not being able to remove that Kidd would really hurt. 6,000 at our life. We're going to block this with Charlotte Brule. Unfortunately, we do not have a big body to play. This is so unfortunate. A 10-drop Big Mom would go crazy here. We're really going to focus on getting this Eustace Captain Kidd off the board. They have a ton of cards in hand, so they'll probably be able to counter out of this 12,000 power swing into the Eustace Captain Kidd. With 6 Don left up, if they let this Kidd go, I'll probably play the 6-cost Nico Robin and trash the top card of their life. If they don't let this Kidd go, though, I might have to throw Don on my 6-cost Katakuri and swing into it again. Yes, they will keep this Kidd alive. I really want to get it off the board. Should I just swing big with my 6-cost Katakuri? That's what I'm leaning towards. And then maybe I was thinking about leaving 3 Don up to play a Charlotte Brule, but I decided no, I really want to get this Kidd off the board, and we do successfully remove it from the board. Now we'll swing 5,000 with our leader. They'll take that and we'll pass it back to them. Not the best situation for us, but overall, I think we're still in a commanding position right here. A 10-drop Doflamingo would go really hard for them. We don't really have any way to deal with that right now. And I really predicted the future yet again because they do drop the 10-drop Dofi here, being able to freeze both my Katakuri characters and my leader. Then they're going to swing 7,000 into our life. 7,000 feels really bad. I think now's the time to use a 0-cost event and play down or trash the 6-cost Nico Robin. I do have another one which I might play here. Here I've got a couple of different options. I could go with the 7-cost Sanji and rest the Tashigi, just trying to clear that off the board so that if they play another Smoker or a 8-cost Useless Captain Kid and I have a way to deal with that, they won't have that Tashigi power blocked in. I'm going to leave 3 Dawn up for Brule, but this is pretty risky. I wouldn't have been surprised if they countered out of that swing to keep that Tashigi alive, and then for 3 Dawn, I'll play down the Charlotte Brule blocker. This blocker is helpful, but we are not in an amazing position right here. They've got a ton of cards in hand. They've got that 10-cost Dofi. I think the tide of the battle has really turned, especially since they have a second Doflamingo, folks. That is such a strong combination. 2 Doflamingos into each other with plenty of good targets for them to use their ability on feels really bad. They're going to swing 7,000 with their leader into our rested Katakuri. I'm leaning towards letting them have this. It's going to be frozen anyway, and I just feel like this is basically a pseudo blocker here. So we'll let it go. Then they're going to swing 10,000 into my Sanji. I will block with Brule for that, but I don't think it would have been a terrible idea for me to let that go either. 10 Dawn for me to work with, still no big bodies, which is absolutely insane. I'm thinking about maybe just swing really big into this Doflamingo. The 6-cost Nico Robin doesn't do much for me. The 7-cost Sanji will do wonders for me. I'm just going to swing 7,000 with my leader into their leader, hoping they take this, and then we'll probably drop the 7-cost Sanji, rushing into their life, just trying to get them down and hoping that they don't have another 10-cost Dofi to freeze my characters again. Now we're going to play down that 7-cost Sanji, give a Dawn to Pudding to swing into the Virgo, just because I'm nervous about the amount of swings they have next turn. So I definitely should have kept that Brule alive. I think that was really kind of silly for me to use that on the 7-cost Sanji. Now we're going to swing with the 7-cost Sanji after they counter to keep that Virgo alive, and we are actually in a bad position. We do have 2 0-cost 3,000 power counter events, which is great. We have that 1-cost Charlotte Flampe that has 2k counter. So in that regard, we're doing pretty well, but we do know the top of our life is a Viola, which isn't going to help us out a ton. They're going to swing 7,000 at us, and this is the perfect opportunity for us to use a 0-cost counter event along with the Ragnarok. So pretty good there. They still have a decent amount of swings, and I think this could be the end for us. 10,000 now. We will take that. We can't get out of that. We'll take their second Dofi swing, and we get the beige triggered. The question is, do I want to use it to prevent the Virgo from attacking? I decide not to. We've got a ton of counter in hand. I didn't think they'd throw all their Dawn on Virgo and swing. They do have the Hody Jones, which is a little bit of a risky play. They're really just going for it here. They'll throw 3 Dawn on the Hody, swing for 11,000, and I think we can actually get out of this, folks. We had a ton of counter in hand. What we lost in big bodies that we did not see this game, at least we found a lot of counter, and so we're actually able to get out of this last attack with perfect math. They decide to concede after that. They did have blockers in their hand and that 2-cost event, when if they didn't play that Hody Jones, they would have had 1 life card. I honestly think if they weren't aggressive into my life and maybe swung into my board instead, they might have been able to win that. So I don't know. There's a lesson for you, folks. Maybe they were a little too aggressive and should have went into my board, but also who could have predicted I'd have that much counter in my hand? Now we're going to play against a Shanks. This first hand is okay, but like, where's my top end? You know, I run plenty of top end, so I'm not feeling great about that. They're going to start off on the odd curve. They'll play an Uta turn 1, search and draw the Lucky Roo. Off of our top deck, we do get that 9-cost Linlin. Finally, we see some top end, and that would actually be a good way to deal with a Lucky Roo, so potentially I will use that to put the Lucky Roo at the bottom of their life. Then they won't be able to use Lucky Roos on KO effect. They're going to swing for 5,000, which I will take, and then they're going to swing for 5,000 again with their Uta, and I will counter out of that with a Viola. We'll swing 7,000 into their life now using leader ability. We will be able to then play down a Viola to set the top of our life cards back down, which is very nice. We'll be able to use leader ability again next turn. We also find that 10-drop Big Mom, which is awesome. That is going to be good in this matchup. They've got 5 down to deal with. We'll see a Lucky Roo come down for 4. Then they're going to swing at us for 6,000. I'm leaning towards countering out of this, but hey, maybe I take it. I don't think it's the biggest deal right now. We're going to heal later on in the game with our 9-cost Linlin and our 10-cost Linlin. Linlen, so that is great news. I have a moment of realization though and realize I need to block with Viola, because if they block an attack and let the Lucky Root die, they'd be able to pop the Viola for free. I absolutely don't want to do that, and so I am going to block with the Viola, getting some value out of it. We're going to give 1 Don to our leader, and then we're going to be able to swing for 6,000 using leader ability to flip our life up, and then we'll play down the 6-cost Katakuri to flip 1 down and ramp it down. They're going to use leader ability here, minusing the power of my Charlotte, putting by 1,000, then giving us 1,000 counter with the Uta. Then we'll play down the 6-cost Katakuri and pass it back to them. Next turn, we're in position to play a 10-drop Big Mom, which is huge. That's a big body that's going to be hard for them to remove. We don't really have any great answers for their 10-cost Shanks, but hopefully we can kill them before they start spamming them. 7 Don for them to work with here. They are going to start off by putting 2 Don on their leader, swinging 7,000 at our leader. I'm thinking here we are okay to take this. Off of our life, we do get the You're the One Who Should Disappear. The trigger doesn't help out right now, but having a 0-cost counter event will be pretty helpful later on in the game, I presume. 5 Don left up. They're going to throw it all on Uta, 7,000 at us, and we're actually just going to use this right away. I consider using the 0-cost event, and I do. I trash the Ragnarok, which might be a little bit questionable because Ragnarok is a great way to get rid of a Rayleigh, but I decide it might be worth it, I guess. I just didn't want to take 2 hits in a row. I think maybe playing down the Satori and the Viola as counter would have been just as good, if not better. We're going to start off with a 5,000 power swing with our leader. I wouldn't be surprised if they use leader ability here and counter out of that for free. Then we're going to swing 7,000 with our Charlotte Katakuri. This will be great. Having to force them to block or give us 2 cards out of hand is very nice. Then we're going to be able to slam down the 10-cost Big Mom, healing us to life, trashing one of their lives. Wow, it feels good. Now they're going to play down an 8-cost Monkey D. Dragon. This is a great card for them to play right now. They're going to be able to swing 8,000 into our Charlotte Katakuri that's rested. We can counter this, but then we're going to probably want to defend it if they swing Dragon into it, which we will decide not to. We'll take the Dragon swing into our life, and we don't get really anything that good right now. We're going to start off with the 1-cost Event Searcher because we don't really have anything crazy to play that we can't afford. I was debating on whether or not to play down the 9-cost Linlen, but I decided to not play that right away. We're going to swing really big into the Dragon, presuming that they're not going to counter out of this giant swing. But I don't think I could have went wrong there with the Charlotte Linlen either. 5 Don left up. I don't think if they counter out of this, I'm going to swing into that Dragon again. But at least if they do, they're going to have to give a ton of cards from hand. We'll probably play down the Charlotte Brûlée and maybe even the Viola too. Throwing down 2 blockers will be very helpful just because we do want to protect our life a little bit. We are not in an amazing spot when it comes to life cards because we're already at 2. At least one of the life cards is a beige, so that could help us out a ton if we need it. They're going to probably play a 10-cost body here, or at least that's what I'd assume. 5,000 now with their leader. We're going to give them 1k counter with the Charlotte Katakuri. Now 10 Don to work with. Do they have the 10-cost Shanks? Moment of truth. They do not. They have the 5-cost Rayleigh, which will help them find it. Well, I guess it won't because they don't get to use this on play because we don't have 2 big bodies. They'll play down another Rayleigh and then pass to us. Now is probably the time to play down the 9-cost Linlen and put one of those at the bottom of their life, establishing another big body. It will feel bad though if I trash a 2k counter. I decide to instead play down a 2k counter, the Satori, and then swing big 10,000 with our Charlotte putting leader. Let me know if you think that play was a little bit questionable. I definitely think it is in hindsight because Satori is only a 5,000 power body, and if they drop a 10-cost Shanks, it's going to be hard to get value with it just because we're going to have to invest Don every time we swing. We are going to get the beige off of life and then use its ability to prevent Rayleigh from attacking. I don't think that was a huge deal, but I do think it was worth it just in case they did play down like a Dragon and they could have really aggroed our life right here. We do get a Charlotte Linlen off the top deck. They had 2 Yasabs that turn, which is pretty good for them. I mean, of course, I think a 10-cost Shanks would have been better, but with the Yasabs, they're able to give plus 1,000 for both of them onto their leader. We're going to start off with a 13,000 power swing with our 10-drop Linlen into their life. Wow, I would love to find another 10-drop Linlen right now, but alas, we do not have it. They're going to use leader ability on our leader, which doesn't really make much of a difference. Then for 9 Don, we are going to play down the Linlen. I think trashing a beige is the move here instead of our other 9-cost Linlen, just because we might want to use that next turn, but it does feel bad getting rid of a 2k this late in the game. We are in a decent spot with all of our bodies, but they still have a ton of cards in hand. They have 3 life life cards, and we have 3 cards in hand, so I am not like super confident in our position, but at the same time, you never know. With a yellow deck, you can get a trigger that could really change the course of the game. We do have 2 blockers, which is very nice, and we'll see if they don't have the 10 cost Shanks here. This Satori will be able to put pressure on them this upcoming turn, most likely, along with our other cards. Another turn with no 10 cost Shanks, they're going to throw 3 down on their Yasab, swing 9,000 into our leader. I would say this is not a bad turn to use one of our blockers. We do need to create some space on the board, but we are going to take that. We do get the Satori, which has a trigger, but it is not worth using, at least in my opinion. 7 Don left up for them to work with. We could see a Rayleigh blocker. We could see another Yasab. We could see a Ben Beckman, but the Ben Beckman wouldn't be super valuable here. 5,000 with their leader. I do think we should use one of our blockers just because we do want to clear space on the board. I decided to go with the counter route instead, trashing a Satori with 2k counter, which I don't know, that's kind of questionable. I'd say they do have that 7 cost Beckman that I did fear and are able to get rid of one of my blockers, the Viola. They could have went for a blocker. They also could have went with the Satori. They decided to go with the Viola. I'm not sure if I agree with that. I think maybe getting the Satori off the board would have been decent, but hey, I don't know. What do I know? They're going to be able to go for life easier next turn if that's the plan for them. So yeah, I guess getting rid of the Viola does make sense. It's an easier route to getting to my life. We're going to start off with a 9,000 power swing into the Yasab. I'm hoping this goes through, but even if it doesn't, we're going to get cards out of their hand, which we really need to do. They have a ton of cards in hand compared to us, and I take issue with that. Now we're going to do 6,000 with Satori into their life. We're then going to do 6,000 with our leader into their life. They counter out of the first attack. 6,000 now with our leader, Charlotte Pudding. Will they take this? Will they counter out of it? Then I'm going to swing 12,000 with our Linlin, which I'd imagine they'd have to take. They will counter out of that leader swing. I'm going to swing 12,000 now. They will take that. And then for 8 Don, I'll play down Charlotte Katakuri, put the Ben Beckman at the bottom of their life. So they're still at 3 life now, but at least we got rid of that Ben Beckman threat. We've got a decent situation here where we're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on their life moving forward. 12,000 with a 10 cost Shanks. They finally play it down. I feel like we have to block here, keeping that 9 cost Linlin alive so that we're going to be able to pressure their life. Now 5,000 with their leader into my Satori, who's at 4,000. I think letting that go is the right move just because we don't want to use our counter on keeping a Satori alive. The question here is, do I play down another 9 cost Linlin, which would heal a life, which would be amazing for us, just because I'm really nervous about next turn, the pressure they're going to be able to put on our life. We're going to start with a 6,000 power swing with our leader. They bump it down to 5 and then give us the 1k counter. Now with a bunch of other big swings, I am also considering swinging really big into that 10 cost Shanks with maybe my 10 cost Linlin. Just clearing it off the board, getting that effect out of the way too will be very nice. We're going to give 3 Don to our Linlin 10 cost, swing 14,000 into the Shanks. Now if they have the 0 cost event, that would be really unfortunate, and they do. Now we're just going to throw the rest on our 9 cost Linlin, really wanting to get this off the board. If they have the counter for it though, that is going to be really awkward. 2 cards in hand, they definitely could. They really could get out of this if they have the cards, and they have another 0 cost event, which is crazy. We're going to swing 7,000 now with our Katakuri into their life, and wow, that felt really bad. 2 cards in their hand, 10 down for them to work with. They're going to start with a 12,000 power swing into our life with the 10 cost Shanks. We get the 10 cost Ace. And yeah, it might be over for us, folks. 5,000 now with the Uta. We can give them a 1k, but with the remaining Don on their field, maybe they'll play a blocker and try to stay alive another turn, but unfortunately we cannot get out of this swing, and that is going to be GG's. Close one. I mean, I think we were really close. If we can get that 10 cost Shanks off the board, we probably win. That's just the way it goes sometimes, though. Sometimes you have the counter, sometimes your opponent does. We are going to do a rematch, except this time they're going to be playing as Blue Doflamingo. We are going to be going first, stealing turn 1 from them. I think that's the move. I'm not confident this is going to be a good matchup for us. While we can ramp to some of our bigger bodies, they can flood the board with their own bodies and be aggressive, and I think that is one of Charlotte Pudding's weaknesses. It's just a lot of pressure from your opponent. If we can't find our top end, then it's just going to be rough, especially when our top end doesn't really help us a ton in this matchup. Dofi doesn't care about like life too much. They care about getting bodies on the board and swinging at our face really quickly, which I don't think we're going to be able to deal with, folks. We'll see though. They do a Perona turn 1 and pass it back to us. Here I'm thinking we swing 5,000 with leader, play down the Charlotte Pudding. We do end up going with the Charlotte Pudding first. That doesn't really make a difference. If anything, that's the incorrect sequencing, because if they got a trigger, they could bottom deck the Pudding hypothetically, but if they wanted to use a Gravity Blade trigger on a Pudding, that's fine with me. Hey, I'd appreciate that actually. They are going to play down the Marshall D Teach, give 2 rested Don to their leader. They might throw an extra Don on their leader and swing big with it. They will. 8,000 now into our life. Using leader ability, they play out the Edward Weevil, which draws them a card. We will take that attack. We get the Brûlé trigger, which is super helpful, even though they can bounce it back to our hand relatively easily with Law. We now have 2 blockers on the field, so they won't be able to bounce back both. A lot of blockers will also help us keep our life healthy until we get to the late game and can start playing our big bodies. 6 Don for us to work with. We're going to start off with a 5,000 power swing from our leader and then go with the 6 cost Charlotte Katakuri. They are going to counter out of that with a 2k Mihawk, which is fine with us. We'll play down the 6 cost Katakuri. We are going to play down a 1 cost Pudding 2 to do a little bit of a search, and we do get a 9 cost Charlotte Linlin, which is actually a really good card in this matchup because this is a great way to get rid, at least temporarily, get rid of a Boa Hancock or an Edward Weevil. That the 6,000 power bodies are really annoying for us, basically really annoying for any deck, and so to be able to put them in their life is a really good way to deal with it. Now they're going to play down a Weevil for 4 Don, not even using a leader ability to get that out. They're going to use their 2 cost Teach's ability to put a card at the top of their deck, swing 7,000 with their leader using leader ability, playing out the 4 cost Boa Hancock. They'll be able to give a Don to their leader, swing 8,000 at us now. This is definitely a block move, and so we're going to block with the Charlotte Brûlé. 1 Don left up for them to work with. They'll probably swing 7,000 with their active Weevil, and that is actually exactly what they're going to do. I'm considering using the Viola here, and we will do that, blocking out of that attack. And now I think we're going to be in a really good spot. We're going to start with a 7,000 power swing into their rested Weevil. 10 Don for us to work with. We can go 9-drop Linlin here. We could also go 10-drop Ace. Neither would be bad options. Now we're going to swing 6,000 with our leader into the Weevil, trying to get that off the board with both of these swings. They did counter out of that first one with the 2k. Maybe they'll counter out of this one with the 2k as well. If we can't get both of them off the board, that's not the biggest deal in the world. I think going 9 cost Linlin here is the move. They let the Weevil go, and now we're going to play down the 9 Mom, healing a life, putting the Boa at the bottom of their life cards, and now passing it back to them. We have got a very strong board developed. We've got 4 life, so we've done a good job so far avoiding the aggression. They've got 6 Don to work with, which I doubt they will run Red Rock. Most blue Dofi decks do not. And even if they do, that's not the end of the world either. We got what we wanted out of this 9 Mom, and yeah, we still have a 7 cost Sanji, which will be really strong. We have the 10-drop Ace. I really like where we're at right now. Oops, I guess technically they're at 8 Don. I did not realize they didn't draw for turn and draw Don yet. It does not change my original sentiment at all, though. I do think we're in a really strong spot. They're going to play down the 4-drop Crocodile, using his ability to bring the Perona back to their hand, and then they're going to play down the Perona to reset the top of their deck. Using Teach, you have to be careful because you can run out of cards relatively easily. Just by putting a card from your hand to the top of your deck and then playing it out with your leader ability, it can really put a drain on your hand. And as you'll see, our opponent does not have a very big hand right now, which is really the downfall of a Doflamingo game. If you do not have a big hand size, it's likely going to be rough. Of course, if you have a decent board and a lot of characters, then that is okay to not have a big hand size, but right now their board is not threatening at all. 7,000 at our Charlotte Katakuri with their leader, and we are going to counter out of this. I might counter with the 7 cost Sanji, which in hindsight I don't love. I think I should have got rid of the 2k just because the Sanji is going to be very beneficial for us. We get a 10 cost Lilin out of our life, and then we get one off the top of our deck, and yeah, we're about to spam 2 Charlotte Lidlins in a row, which is absurd. I think we've got this game in the bag. We're going to clear their Weevil with our 7,000 power Katakuri. Now a 5,000 power swing into their life with our leader. I wouldn't be surprised if they take this, and they will. Now a 9,000 power swing with our Linlin. There's no way they're going to counter out of this, and wow, we have taken a huge lead if I say so myself. We'll drop the 10 Mom, heal a life, trash a life, passing it back to them. They are at 10 Don, and now they do have a decent amount of cards in their hand. They'll drop a 4 cost Gecko from their hand, then bring back an Edward Weevil from the trash. They're going to throw 2 Don on their leader, swing 7,000 into our Katakuri, which I think it makes sense to counter out of, just to continue to keep it on the board so we can pressure life. We might even be able to go for game next turn. They play out Bounce Law, and then they're actually going to bounce the Pudding back to my hand, which I think is a misplay just because I can use that as counter right away. I don't think having the Pudding on board was really a threat to them next turn, but yeah, I think that was a little bit of a misplay. Now 7,000 into my Katakuri with the Croc, and we will counter out of that. They're going to play down the Perona again to set the top of their deck, and I think this is just too little too late. They weren't able to be aggressive in the early game. We had blockers, and now we're able to establish just these giant bodies. Before we start with the 10 mom, we are going to do some smaller swings. 5,000 now with our leader. There is no way they don't counter out of that. Then they do with the 1,000 counter Sengoku. Now we can do a 7,000 power swing with our Katakuri. I'd imagine they'd probably counter out of this as well. If they know what's good for them, they will. 2K, 1K. Now 9,000 with the Charlotte Linlin. We are actually considering clearing their board. This is probably overkill in hindsight. I definitely did not need to do that, but of course I'm always just worried about Doflamingo and their shenanigans, so I will clear their board and then play down the 10 drop Linlin, and after this it's gotta be over. They're gonna start with a 7,000 power leader swing. I think they just have to go all in this turn. I actually don't even think they can possibly win this turn. Off the leader swing they do have the Boa Hancock, which does give them another Don card. They just concede though. There's no more hope for them. GG's though. Some really good games. Now we're playing against the Red Zoro, and I gotta be honest, I am not feeling confident about this matchup at all. Zoro is a really strong deck in the meta right now, especially against 4-life leaders, especially against leaders that tend to play bigger bodies later on in the game, which is what Charlotte Pudding does. Even though we can ramp up to our big bodies, I don't think it's going to be enough. They are going to start off with the Dr. Correja search. They get the Shut Up and Come With Us event, and then they'll pass it back to us. We don't have anything for 2 Don. We could play down the Viola, but I decided not to. I'm going to want to use that next turn. They're going to play down another Dr. Correja, get another Shut Up and Come With Us, swing 5,000 at our life, and I think I should counter out of this with a 1,000 counter with Katakuri. We do have multiples in our hand, so let's let it go and protect our life a little bit early. Hopefully we can make it into the late game. 2 Don left up for their events, and I think in hindsight I should not have swung here, but at the same time, what am I to do? Because if I don't swing, I can't use my leader ability. So what the heck should I have done in this situation? Maybe I shouldn't have done anything, because now they're going to be able to play cards using those 2 events, but then I wouldn't have been able to ramp, which is the whole point of my deck. So maybe I shouldn't have done this. Let me know in the comments down below if you think this was a major misplay on my part. They're able to establish 2 more bodies, which is crazy. They'll take the hit and then we'll establish the Viola, flipping our life back down so that we can use leader ability again if we are so inclined. Now they've got a board full of characters, 5 Don to work with. This is actually insane right now. Zoro's just so strong. I think this matchup is probably doomed unless they really low roll and we really high roll. But do Zoros even low roll with all the searchers and all the little bodies? I mean, they've always got options, it feels like, especially in this matchup. They're going to start their turn with a 3-cost Tony Chopper that allows them to play the Hiking Bear. I believe that's the name of that card. Yes, Hiking Bear. They're going to give a Don to their leader, giving plus 1,000 to all of their characters. Swing 6,000 at us now with their 3-cost Chopper that allows them to look at the top of their deck and potentially play a animal type character. They do have the OPO1 Tony Chopper. We're going to give them the 2K counter right here with Flampe. Then they've got 1 Don on their leader, 6,000 at us, which we will take. They know that's a 10-cost Linlin and doesn't have any counter. They pass it back to us with 1 Don up. They could have another event to cheat out another body, which is absolutely ridiculous. I have to swing into their board, though. If I don't swing into their board, I'm just like waiting to die. We do top deck a 2K counter, which is very nice. We're going to swing 6,000 first. The question is, do we go into OPO1 Chopper or the other Chopper? I'm thinking we go into the OPO1 just because it's easier to remove, but at the same time, this 3-cost Chopper is such a menace. I believe that is from OPO8 Tony Chopper. That one is so strong in this deck, so we've got to get rid of it. 6,000 at them. I feel like there's no way they let it go here. They do have a ton of cards in hand, though, so they will use the event to cheat out a blocker Chopper, which is very strong. Then we'll play down the 6-cost Katakuri, and next turn we will be able to start dropping our 10 moms. But will it be too late? They've got an entire board full of animal characters. I am absolutely dreading this. This might be the quickest loss in Johnny TCG history. They're going to give 1 Don to their leader, 1 Don to their Hiking Bear, probably swing just 5s all across the board with their characters. They'll start with the 5,000 from a Hiking Bear. I think we definitely give them a 1K counter here with our Charlotte Katakuri. We are going to hope that they can't put us down too low in life, but even if they don't, like, there's no way we're going to be able to clear out their entire board. A 10 mom will not be that helpful. We have to take the second attack. This third attack, I think we should 2K counter out of. Feels bad, though, giving a 2K for a 5,000 power swing. We've got a bunch of bricks in our hand. We do take that, and I think that's just because I realized this game is kind of lost already on turn 4. That's crazy. We are going to 2K counter out of that attack. They do have a Rush Luffy, 7,000 at us. We have to take that, and I guess we'll just block with our Viola, but This game is over. This is the quickest loss in Johnny TCG history. It's official. I hit him with the bruh LOL. I am not complaining at all. They played a great game. I think me swinging that turn 2 was an absolute misplay, but it is what it is. Sometimes that's just the way the game goes. And with that, let's go back to talk about the deck. And those are the games I got for you, ladies and gentlemen. What did you think about them? I really enjoyed this deck. Being a 4-life leader does feel kind of bad right now, especially a deck like Charlotte Pudding that relies on bigger bodies that you're not getting like value right away early on in the game with. But it's still a fun deck. I'd recommend you give it a shot if you've never given it a shot before. If you have given her a shot, let me know how it's gone, and if you'll give her a shot in OP10, because I do think she's pretty fun. That's all I got for you today, folks. If you like the content, consider hitting that subscribe button. I told you once, I've told you twice. This is your last warning. If you don't subscribe after this, we're gonna have beef. I'm just kidding. Everyone, have a great rest of your day. This has been a Johnny TCG video. Peace.